Take that, San Diego.
Hmm.
How about that, Figgy? The Mets win 2 out of 3. It's a 4-2 homestand. We were there on Tuesday, and we have interviews with Mets Mr. Do-It-All out of the bullpen, David Robertson. We have the interview with the winning starting pitcher on Wednesday, Tylor Megill. We have you breaking down the ghost forkball and how to throw a forkball. This is a jam-packed episode of Amazin But True, and you also talk about not being the Long Island Ducks pitching coach. If you stay to the end, you'll hear about that and maybe a new job opportunity.
Yeah, so many things to talk about. Again, the Mets are playing very good baseball right now. You get to see guys performing comfortable at home. That's what Buck Showalter told us at the beginning of this homestand. It'll be good to get the guys back at home where they're comfortable and able to do things with a little bit more ease and not so much panic. So it's good to see New York on board and good to see the Mets fans didn't give up on this team yet.
We talk series win, the homestand, the food, everything, the experience. David Robertson, Tylor Megill. It's all coming up on your favorite and your mother's and your pet turtle and your cat and your dog and your uncle and your aunt's favorite Mets podcast. It's Amazin But True from the New York Post, and it's all coming up next. Welcome back to Amazin But True, our New York Mets podcast from the New York Post. Those highlights you heard are courtesy of SNY as the Mets. You know, any kind of revenge, Figgy, is great. And I'll take April revenge for now. And then maybe we'll get later revenge in October against those losers, San Diego Padres and their 6-person symphony, that video that went viral of them, forming a parade of like 6 weird guys in the streets banging a drum. So we'll get our revenge now. It's Jake, Brown, Nelson Figueroa. Figgy, if you're watching on video, it looks like he is reporting live from the 7 train platform right now. He has a dark Citi Field in the background. Figgy, are you okay? And did you catch the express? Because I got the local today and it took way too long.
Oh, God, that's not what you want to do. You definitely want to catch the local at any time going to Citi Field. No, I'm fine. I'm perfectly good health and weather conditions are great. What a day today, huh? 80 some odd degrees. And I had to work indoors.
I think I got burned a little bit. Yes, sweet, but still you're outside at some point. So I think from the week, 6 games, 6 days, it is tiring. I start to feel for these guys. And, I'm stuffing my face with lobster rolls. They're actually playing a game of baseball. So it is exhausting. And they're playing into the sun. Like that 80-degree sun today was toasty. So I give them credit. So if a guy's in a slump, I say, you know what? I'm so sorry you had to travel and play so many days in a row.
See, at least you learned to appreciate it a little bit. You've been spoiled. Let me tell you something. You have changed from 2 years ago when we used to see you out in the Coca-Cola corner over there, sitting there. You caught, what was it, Jazz Chisholm's home run ball?
Yep.
Back in those days. Now, Jake Brown sit somewhere with the Peoples. No, actually, remember we got that when we were going up the escalator. They were all like, "Where are you guys going? You're not."
Well, that was to you.
Us.
They didn't know who I was. They were like, "Nelson, what are you doing coming up the escalator?"
Meanwhile, you were the guy in the suit, and they didn't even put 2 and 2 together.
Listen, not everyone knows me. Some people in these streets do, but I'm trying to work my way up. But yeah, you're right. I've become a bougie son of a bitch. It's true. I'm not even going to deny it.
You turned down free Shake Shack. You were like, nah, I don't really want Shake Shack. I'm in the mood for I don't know, lobster,
caviar.
You're unbelievable.
Shrimp cocktail.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was the best one. Hey, can you get a hold of no food tonight? Dang it.
Listen, we did each have 2 Shake Shack burgers. I will admit I did remove the lettuce and tomato. I just think those make a burger worse, so I did take them off, but love a good Shake Shack burger. Anyways, yeah, 6 games, 6 days, Cadillac Club. If you can pull it off, do it once. I know it's a little pricey, but check StubHub day of and go, because it is an experience. And I won't tell you the code now. I won't say the code to get the door because my dumbass realizes
Jake has to learn. Let's go over this.
Speakeasies.
Yeah, speakeasies, because Jake is so young and had no idea. He just thought maybe speakeasy is you whisper or something, like it's a library.
I did bad in history class. I didn't realize that it was like the Prohibition era and there was a whole backstory to this.
So I tried to explain to Jake the reason it's called a speakeasy is because you don't talk about it. It's a secret that during Prohibition, when they didn't They couldn't serve alcohol. There were places that served alcohol, but you couldn't speak about it because they would get shut down. So if you spoke about it and they found out you were the one, trust me, it was a bad thing. Meanwhile, Jake's posting it all over social media. Check it out. This is what you need to do. You do the knock on the door. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? So he learned very quickly because he got such looks all throughout the suite levels. Everybody was like, there's the guy.
Well, at first I was the cannoli king. Now I'm the speakeasy king. So just yeah. Well, I deleted the video, so I guess the people who saw it will now know. But you still need access to get there. I guess speakeasy means speak easy about it. Like try not to speak too hard about it. Well, I spoke hard already. I was speaking hard.
You spoke hard about the urinals, bro. Dial it down.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice bathroom. Listen, I love my nice bathrooms. I did talk on the last episode with Colin Cosell about the Delta bathrooms and how it's a great place to take a dump in. And so is the speakeasy bathroom. Anyways, amazing but true. Jake, Brown, Nelson Figueroa. We had a great time at the ballpark, me and Figgy on Tuesday, and we have interviews coming up later in the show with the star of the show. That's right, Mets pitcher getting the W on Wednesday. Big drip. And you'll hear about that and him roasting me about my drip. So big drip and little drip. Tylor Megill will join us a little bit later in the show. We chatted with Mama Megill, who was there. Yes. She is a social media star. I don't think Tylor likes her doing interviews, so we did not interview her, but off the record, we spoke with her, and just a very nice lady, and the whole family there. So good to see that. In a Mets win on Wednesdays, they take 2 or 3 from the Padres, and we'll air our interview with David Robertson. And I asked him about Sweet Home Alabama, which I did realize at the game today, Figgy, that is his entrance music. I thought it was. I wasn't positive. And I'm just like, you're from there. Like, have you heard it too many times? I guess he's right. It does never get old. I was singing along with it today. So Sweet Home Alabama for our Alabamian closer, setup man, whatever you want to call him, a utility role by David Robertson. And, it's a big topic of this Mets team. They take 2 or 3 from the Padres and the bullpen shutting the door for Tylor Megill. Figgy, those middle relievers could give us headaches, but if Robertson, going up against the middle of the order, getting 4 outs, setting it up for Ottavino, if those 2 guys can be like their old selves and pitching how they have been, I think the Mets are going to be able to hopefully survive until maybe an Edwin Diaz return, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But those are the key guys that need to just absolutely dominate and be the all-stars that we know them to be.
Yeah, he has over 150 saves at the big league level already, and he's not overwhelmed by the situations. What I loved about talking with him was he's very comfortable in his own skin. He knows the kind of pitcher he is. He's not trying to do anything excessive. He's not trying to throw the ball 100 miles an hour just because everybody else is. He's throwing more breaking balls, more curve balls, which everybody throws a cutter or a slider. And he said, that he feels like the slider or cutter, everybody's doing it. Got to do something a little different. So, my hat goes off to him having the courage to say, I have to swim upstream a little bit and do something a little different. That curveball just sets up the hitters. They don't expect it to be so slow. They don't expect it to have that late break. And then he still has that cutter he can go to when he's behind in the count, doesn't have to go with a straight fastball down the middle. And he can elevate that fastball, of course, with 2 strikes for a surprise. And he gets those swings and misses or weak swings or pop-ups. And, he's just an established pitcher, someone that I don't think, we gave enough credit to. It was like a nice signing, but, we didn't think that, oh man, what if Diaz went down? Because once Diaz went down, it was like, all right, we got to go out and go get somebody. You had somebody in here who can handle the job and has pitched in New York, has pitched in big games, and you're getting more and more comfortable the more you see him out there.
And we're sorry for any Wi-Fi delays. Figgy is reporting from the 7-line platform, so the Wi-Fi is a little spotty out there at Citi Field, but we are good. And that's the thing. He wasn't exactly, Figgy, a luxury per se in getting David Robertson, but in some ways he was, because you had a closer, you had another, mini closer and Adam Ottavino, and then you get Robertson, you're like, perfect. Now we're set. Now he's got to step up. He's got even a bigger role, and he has been absolutely sensational so far, giving up no runs. Because some of those other guys, you worry a bit. You saw Dennis Santana give up the absolute piss missile bomb on Tuesday night. Who hit that? Was Xander Bogaerts, I believe, who absolutely clobbered that ball into the second deck.
Yep.
Yeah, into the second deck. And those are the guys where you're like, oh boy, Santana, the Curtises, Rayleigh has struggled a bit. Donnie Reyes, Donnie Wahlberg Reyes. We got to ask his pronunciation last time. And we did speak to Kodai Senga, who will start Friday, his translator as well. No one talks to this guy, so we had to interview him, 24-year-old kid. We'll play that next week so you can hear from Senga's translator. But Yeah, this relief has been big. And you know what? They came up with some big boy hits on Wednesday. And Figgy, for a Mets offense that is not doing a whole ton, Big Meat Pete, pause, is doing a lot. 6 homers, 12 RBIs. You know, he hit a big one Wednesday, and they're going to need him to keep doing this. We were worried when he went from, fat to skinny that he would do less. He is on pace. I don't know the number, but he's on pace for something like Aaron Judge like. And the Mets offense badly is going to need him to keep performing at this level.
Yeah, without a doubt, he's that guy in the middle of the lineup that makes everything go. And, you're seeing better and better swings out of him. You're seeing the mistakes not being fouled back. You're seeing the mistakes, ending up on the other side of the wall in a big fashion. The little bat flip, I'm loving it. It's not too dramatic. It's his own signature now. He takes a couple steps out of the box, flips it nice and tight, leaves it on the side of the road as he takes his little trot around the bases. This is who he's become. He's one of the most feared hitters in baseball because he doesn't have many holes and he's very streaky like that. So he can go on a streak like this at any time. It happens to always coincide, I think, when they're at home. I feel like he just crushes balls at home and makes, it makes the Citi Field look small, and it's not a small field at all, but he's been a special player since day one. And I remember when there was, the thoughts of leaving him back to, keep his clock from starting. And that was the one thing that Brodie Van Wagenen did, and did it the right way. The kid won the competition in spring training. You put him out there and he had all that confidence brewing, and all you saw this guy do was just continue to smash baseballs, just like, nothing had ever happened. He didn't miss time because he should have been called up the year before after hitting 30 plus home runs in the minor leagues. But, this is who he is. He's a guy who can hit prolific bombs, and at the same time, his defense has gotten better and better. He made such a great play the other day, almost got them out of that jam. Remember when Peterson was pitching, diving to the left, running, and then diving to the bag to get the out right there. And Machado unfortunately foiled that one with the double. But this is he takes pride in his work at defense. And, this is a guy that I said from the beginning, we thought Conforto would be that next captain because he kind of had that nice, quiet swagger and, seemed to be the veteran guy that could stay for a long time. When that didn't happen, it seems inevitably that it could be a guy like Pete. I know, Lindor has the longer contract, but Pete Alonso is everything you would want in a team captain because he backs it up with the way that he plays, the style that he plays. He plays hard and he loves this team. That each and every time out there, he drops the LFGM.
Yeah, and he is just so lovable. He's just our lovable little, polar bear, Pete Alonso. And the interesting thing with this lineup is, yeah, he's been good. Lindor's been solid. They've mixed and matched guys. Nimmo had a great day Wednesday. He's been good. I would love to see them steal more bases. Like Brandon Nimmo has so many chances to steal bases. And if you were watching Wednesday, Figgy, first pitch, they let him go to halfway to, off of first base. He was halfway to second base. Then they came to cover him. He's got to run more. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. He's successful when he runs a lot, bigger bases, less pickoff attempts. He's got to run. Lindor's got to run. If this offense isn't going to create runs, small ball in the organic way, you're going to have to, if they're just not going to score enough. You saw it Tuesday night. They couldn't hit. They couldn't drive guys in, base loaded, no one out. They couldn't get them home. We're going to have to see these guys at the top of the order set the table and start stealing bases. I'm sorry.
Well, that's one of the things that at the press conference when we were at the field that Buck Showalter was talking about with Brandon Nimmo. He's already tied last year's total in stolen bases, so he's going to be running more. Obviously, he's going to have probably a career high in stolen bases this year. Everybody's doing it, and they're doing it in a fashion where it's more of a selfless act because you're putting yourself in scoring position. Only 2 pickoff moves. After that, you can get basically a running lead if you time it correctly, and you're able to take off and steal the base. And with it being a half a foot closer, there's no longer that fear of bang bang plays. And I think, you look at even across town, Anthony Volpe was a guy that they brought up because they needed to run more, and he was a kid who could do it. He's still second, steal third. Guys are going to be running with a little bit more, reckless abandon. And Nimmo is starting to do some of these things where he's always had the speed, he's always had the athleticism, but his reasoning was, he didn't want to take them out of an inning because of those guys behind him. He didn't want to be the reason why, a double all of a sudden in the gap from Lindor, and he stole and had a bad read and he's out. is the reason we don't have another run on
But
the
don't you
board.
think that's thinking too much? That's looking
It,
too much into it. It's thinking too much.
it is. And I think that's one of the things that a good coach and a good manager, they bring him in and they kind of can, tell him, listen, we can literally show you now with the analytics. Like if you had just last year, based on these new bases, the amount that you ran last year, the times that you did get caught, you probably would have gotten half of those would have been stolen bases. So we want you, we're encouraging you. We want you to be aggressive. And you have to have that. I think with the new contract, you don't have that fear factor of, oh, what if I mess up? They're telling you, this is what we want you to do. This is who we want you to be. And for Nimmo, that takes a little bit of out of his game. Like he's really good at what he does really well. And when you start to stretch him outside of his comfort zone, that's when you see him, sometimes going through those big slumps, start chasing pitches, trying to hit a little bit more home runs. Every hitter is, doomed to that. As soon as they hit a couple home runs, oh my God, I can do this all the time. No, you can't. Stay in your lane and do what you do best. And so I think Buck and the coaching staff have already gotten in his ear. They already told him, listen, we need you to get yourself in the scoring position. This way it only takes one hit to have you score instead of two or possibly three.
You said you brought up fear factor, and my mind went right to like eating like salamanders and like Joe Rogan.
Just eating. That's the whole thing with you.
It's always eating. My version of fear factor would be me eating salad. That's like, put that on live, put that on SNY. Jake eats lettuce with like balsamic vinaigrette and spits it out immediately. That's my form of fear factor. Anyways, amazing but true. And here's the thing. He does this thing. Like I noticed today, he had that like glove on or whatever. Like he was like Michael Jackson or something. And he's like doing this like elbow. Like he's halfway to the second base. Like he has his elbow out. He's like, I'm going. I'm like, so go. So that's going to be interesting to watch because of these, new rules. And, he was all the way towards second and they picked him up. They try to pick him off. Is the rule 2 pickoff attempts and then the third you have to get him, or is it 1 pickoff attempt and the second you got him?
No, it's 2 pickoff attempts, and on the third one, if you don't pick him off, it's a balk, and he gets free base. He gets to move over to second base. It's so what.
Do you like that? Are you a fan of that?
Again, all over baseball, they're encouraging to try and steal more bases. They want to see that element of the game. The skill set. This is one of the things that being in the Atlantic League last year, there's ways that Major League Baseball is trying to put focus on different skill sets and bring back focus on different skill sets. So running bases and having elite base runners, but yet all around baseball, the max of stolen bases is like 30. Remember the days of Ricky Henderson and Vince Coleman? You're looking at 100, 120 bases. That was an exciting part of the game. The game has changed in that dynamic, but pitchers are faster to the plate. They throw harder. The catchers, are much better catch and throws back there. And so it makes it a little more difficult. So they made bigger bases to encourage that. It also will encourage guys going first to third because you're going to be able to, take that walking lead and take off. And when a ball's hit, make that guy throw you out. So it shows, again, showcasing more of the talent and that elite talent that Major League Baseball players have. I think that anytime that you're controlling the game in that element where after 2, we saw Ronald Acuna do it the other day. He was pointing to the dugout. That was 2. He can't do it a third time. And so it gave him a bigger lead. You can still get picked off, right? So if you time it right, you make this guy anxious. Now you got a pitch clock is going off. So he's counting down 3, 2, 1 on the pitch clock. And then you go and pick off, before it's 3, 2, 1. It's another game within a game, but I think it's a strategy thing that can help a lot of teams, and it will help a lot of teams because they want more offense. They want to see more and more offense because these pitchers, now you got every team having, 9 guys that throw over 100 miles an hour. You got everybody throwing 93-mile-an-hour sliders. So it's getting more and more difficult to just sit there and play home run derby. So they're trying to figure out ways with no shift, bigger bases, and more stolen bases to have the game be a little bit more exciting.
You missed your perfect chance there to do your best Arnold Schwarzenegger jingle all the way voice and say, he got 2. So it's 2 and then the throw over.
Get down. Get down.
If you haven't seen that movie, you're not American. I don't know if you've lived. I mean, you're not alive, not even American. They love that in Sweden. They watch Jingle All the Way. So, or wherever country.
You don't even know that, but you just threw that out there. You're unbelievable.
It is just, I know I should come Cupid, Donald Blitzen. I still can't name all the reindeer that fast. It's one of the hardest things ever. Amazing but true. Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa. Mets take 2 of 3 over the Padres. Figgy and in honor of 2 of 3, and Tylor Megill making fun of my big drip who we hear from. We wear a chain for every win in the series. So here's one. That is for Monday night, a 5-0 win. Max Scherzer dealing so much that he only was able to go 5 innings over 97 pitches, but it was good to see Scherzer beat the Padres at Citi Field after he got his ass spanked, his butt spanked, like someone else on this podcast has. Cue the audio of Dominic Smith slapping my butt cheeks.
Dominic Smith grabbed my butt cheek once.
Yes. after and the backstory that I'll say. So yes, it was good after getting his butt cheek spanked to get a shutout on Monday and shut down an elite offense of the Padres. Dominic Smith, 2013, in the dugout, theme of us by the dugout doing interviews. Tylor Megill, David Robertson coming up in a few minutes. A ball went past the first baseman. One almost hit us the other day. A ball came close. A ball at the game today, I was in the suite, hit the plastic thing that, in front of the first row of the suite, there's like a one little plastic thing. It bounced off of there, and I kind of shied away. I'm glad the cameras didn't hit because it was kind of embarrassing. I really pussied out from
what inning was that?
What inning? He's like, let me call the camera guy in left field and see
what inning is
that footage. You're gonna go play by play on Gamecast. See which pitch.
I'll find it. Trust me.
Yeah, I literally was like, did a little dance.
Come on, just tell me what inning. Just tell me what inning. What hitter?
I should have too. Okay, I had Chase in there. I could have gave Chase a little ball, and I kind of just didn't want a chance to drop it. It landed in the Hyundai Club right below me, but it was close. Anyways, so a ball rolls past the first baseman. Talking to Dom Smith before he's on the Mets, September call up, 2013 or something. It hits me right in the butt cheek. Just it hurt. Like it was it was like whoosh, and you're used to getting your ass grabbed, Figgy, by teammates, and. And he just full on cuppage, like just cuppage on the cheekage, like that. We'll add that to the soundboard. And now I know, like that's a big thing in baseball. Like that happened to you a lot, right? It's startling though. Like, weren't you ever startled?
No, actually, you just get
Terry
patted,
hit your ass,
pat on the butt, and they say nice job. Like as you're walking by, nice job, a little pat on the no cuppage.
Well, doesn't it startling if you get spanked by like Terry Collins and your ass is in the jackpot and boom, spanked?
No. Let's just say again, you're walking by, it's just a little pat instead of pat on the back and maybe a little lower pat on the butt. Not a big deal. We don't make a big deal out of it. But when you are expressing cuppage,
there was some squeezage, which is fine. It was nice. Sometimes a little butt, even as Dom Smith was nice, before he got to the big leagues.
It was nice.
Someone tweeted, "Is this true?" He's not going to remember. Of course, I remember. He doesn't know who the hell I am. But that's where that soundbite comes from. Anyways, where were we? Meant to beat the Padres.
That Scherzer, Scherzer did his thing. Good to see him right the ship a little bit. Still not, vintage Scherzer, but as he said, he's not broken. He's going to be fine. He's still working on things and, getting things just fine tuned. When you're a veteran guy like that, it's just a little fine tuning, just, giving a little extra sharpness with the breaking ball. Sometimes the arm feels a little too fresh and you're overthrowing your breaking balls and they wind up hanging over the plate. And those are the ones that go a long way. And that's what's been happening to Scherzer. He's been missing with his command on his slider and is not being able to get it to have that downward tilt where they hit it into the ground. If they hit it, they've been able to square it up. And that's where Milwaukee did all the damage against him. So it was good to see him right the ship a little bit. Of course, 5 innings is never enough Scherzer. You'd like to see him go out there and give you 7 at least. As well as, he wants to do that. That's just his MO every time. But I think, again, those 2 horses at the top, they're going to be pace cars for most of the season because you can't exactly just ride them to death and say, hey, you guys have to go out there and throw 9. So the middle relief still is going to have to be, counted on, and they're going to continue to kind of mix and match and see who's play the hot hand and see which guys are going to earn a bigger role and, see if these guys can handle some of the pressure, because you can't keep expecting just 2 guys at the end to handle everything when the going gets tough.
We had a couple words in the dictionary saying pace cars. I like that one. That was like a Cadillac. Boom. Dollar in the tip jar. Pace cars. Pace cars. I don't know maybe a Honda Civic could pace car. I don't know what a pace car in reality would be. But yeah, and the whole staff did a tremendous job against the Padres. Shutout Monday, 2 runs Tuesday from Peterson, and then Dennis Santana gave the bomb. And then two runs from our guy, Big Drip McGill, Tylor Megill on Wednesday. So great starting pitching, and Justin Verlander looks like he's on the mend for the end of the month. We expect him end of the month. He'll probably get a minor league start. And that's when, this is just about staying afloat till you get Verlander back. We understand Verlander's age. He's coming back from an injury, but we're just going off his track record. And his track record is Hall of Fame. So when he comes back in this rotation with how Senga's looked, with Max is outing Monday, with how Big Drip looked with Peterson, the Mets are going to be just fine. Again, they need a reliever. We get that. But if you throw in a Verlander who throws, we expect him first 2 starts, maybe 5 innings. But if he and Scherzer could go 7 and then Senga goes 6 or 7, you're setting yourself in good positions where you're not going to have to use the Reyeses and the Santanas and, those guys in the middle. So Verlander coming back is huge. And that bullpen could get a piece back. Edwin Diaz, the trumpet, has spoken. And you'll hear Robertson later talk about my idea of a saxophone. I think he prefers his Sweet Home Alabama over any Kenny G entrance music. But Hearts, let's play the audio. Edwin Diaz spoke to the media, spoke to Anthony DiComo and company and Puma and all those guys. And he talked about a potential return this year. And it sounded pretty encouraging. Let's listen up to what Edwin Diaz had to say.
I'm feeling great. We are working hard to see if we can come back as soon as possible, but everything is going in the right direction right now with the team, and the doctors say I'm doing great, so I'm really happy.
Are you going at this rehab attempting to get back this season?
First of all, they want me to get ready get better my knee first, and then they will see how I'm responding in my strengths, all these things I have to do when I start throwing, all those things. If the test coming back good, I might throw this year.
How confident are you that that's a real possibility for you?
As of right now, my knee is doing great. They are really happy, so we are in a good direction for that.
Listen, it's April 12th. I get it. It's early. But that is, Mets fans should be encouraged by that, Figgy. And I think I always have said in the back of my mind, he's back in October. Like, I know it. I feel it. And they got lucky where the injury could have been even worse than what it was. It's a terrible injury. But, I'm no Dr. Brown here. I'm not, the Dr. Brown soda that you get at Ben's Kosher Deli. But I do know that there is a strong chance he comes back. And if he's already encouraged in April, your hope is that September he's ramping up for a playoff run and we get trumpets in October. And that would be the final piece on, again, it's April, the final piece on a real special team in October.
Yeah, I mean, everything, sky was the limit if he was going to be there for all 162 games, right? I mean, this is the best closer in baseball, a guy with just beyond the electric stuff. Just the tone in the whole stadium would change as soon as you heard the trumpets coming in, right? It was just, okay, game's over, no matter what. And you kind of got used to him, if he's a little wild, he might walk 1 or 2, but you knew he was going to strike out 3. That was just the recipe. His fastball slider combination is unhittable at times, and that's definitely sorely missed by this team. When it coming back from an injury like this, what's crazy is that Steve Cohen has given him every single resource possible, making sure he's eating properly, which, gets overlooked. I remember I came back from my surgery. I was depressed and eating, Twinkies. I'll never pitch again.
Sounds like me on a Tuesday.
This is taking way too long. They said 6 to 9 months, and there I was still 8. I was 8 months, and I could barely reach up over my shoulder. So I remember in the process of it all, you want to be, feeling good, but it's so different now. Technology is so different. Every year it seems like, there's a new way to go at this thing and to treat it and to do the therapy, and that there's machines that move it for you, to, start stretching it earlier than, you can physically do that with the muscles, because the muscles go into atrophy around the knee. And so that's the thing where he has to build it back up. It's not necessarily, all the ligaments, tendons, and things of that nature. And it's the muscle around from being in that, soft cast that you see him wearing, where it just looks like, a contraption over his leg where it keeps it straight as possible. There's so many things that now you just never know. I watched Billy Wagner go from Tommy John, where Tommy John, when I was playing, was 2 years you were out. Billy Wagner came back in 8 months, and not only came back in 8 months, but he was throwing 97, 98 back in 8 months. And it was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. So closers, they have a different mentality. They are built different, and hopefully he's one of those guys that can heal faster. And if he's available, there's no way that you're not going to want him closing the door come October.
Yeah, would love to have him back. Verlander, hopefully in a few weeks here, Figgy. Darren Ruff is back with the Giants, and of course, in his first at bat, RBI double off Clayton Kershaw in a Giants uniform. So that is further proof that Darren Ruff hates New York. That's just what the stats show you. I mean, it's unbelievable how bad that trade really turned out to be. And we get a preview of that. The Giants and the Mets is coming up. It's Oakland first, Figgy. 3 at Oakland, 3 at the Dodgers, 4 at the Giants before the Mets return home. I need this 10-day home with this road trip away from the stadium, ballpark food, gaining weight. I could see it in my face. It's getting chunkier. So I'm glad they're hitting the West Coast. Enjoy the West Coast. Oakland has been terrible. The Mets, it's just about winning series again until Verlander gets back. Take 2 out of 3. Would love a sweep here. And, we expect to have Daniel Murphy on the next episode. So, hopefully he comes through and that happens. We'll recap that Oakland series, the Dodgers, and then you get Conforto, JD, Darren Ruff, and they're all going to be probably in the lineup for those 4 games. The Giants, if they're smart, they have them all in there and they try to seek their revenge. That's a 10-game road trip. And it begins with Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga. I keep saying his name wrong. And his lovely translator. Well, Senga's got that Ghost Forkball taking over the world. Ghost Forkball t-shirt from Athlete Logos that Big Drip Tylor Megill had on as well. And Figgy broke down. And, if you want to see the visual of this, because it's probably better on video, you could watch this on our New York Post Sports YouTube page right now in the full show, which we recommend you do. Or watch the YouTube clip, watch on social media at Amazin But True, at Jake Brown Radio, at Figgy NY. You broke down how to throw this forkball, how you threw it, and we'll watch that right now, and we'll listen to that right now.
We happen to have a ball, and you happen to pitch in the big leagues at one point. We talked with Big Drip about the Ghost Forkball. You did throw a forkball at one point in your career. I'd love for you to show our viewers and listeners how you threw it and what made it an effective pitch.
Well, the idea is you kind of same thing as your grip as your fastball, right? You go based off that. So 2-seam fastball would look like this. What you do is you just spread it a little bit wider. So you're using that part of the inside part of your finger to let the ball go through like that. So instead of getting spin on the ball and making the ball backspin with your fingers, you have the ball here between them and it just pops up through it and it has very little friction. So the idea is that as it's cutting through the wind, at some point that friction is going to take over and it's almost like a knuckleball, it'll dive down. That's why there's no real command thing to it. You throw it and you just know it's going to move. You're not sure exactly, it's going to be down and away or down and in on command. You can give it a little bit of a push, but the best ones that are thrown are kind of thrown with equal pressure, comes out right through the middle. And there is a little bit of growing pains with it when you go to a Major League Baseball. He came from Japan. The baseballs were a little bit different. They were a little bit bigger, he said. So it took him a little while to get the feel for that Ghost Forkball. It's working great now. For me, coming from the minor leagues to the big leagues, seams are bigger in the minor leagues. In the big leagues, the seams are a lot flatter. And the reason they do that is so you can't spin the ball nearly as quick. And also, when you're throwing that forkball, all you're trying to do is have the arm speed of a fastball. You're selling a fastball, and it just drops out of the zone, swings and miss.
All right, good breakdown there. And you saw the video. You kind of just spread your finger wider off of the seam. Is that kind of did I get that right, Figgy?
Yeah, that's one way to do it. Again, everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's hands are a little bit different. I had a good spread between my 2 fingers that I was able to throw the baseball with, and literally I can put the baseball up between it and you wouldn't touch. I did that because I used a softball when I was a kid and stretched out, I guess, the ligaments or whatever it might have been. Just to be able to throw that forkball because Mike Scott had such a devastating one against the Mets. It was a pitch that I wanted to learn. I actually threw a forkball, and throughout my career, they listed it as split finger in the minor leagues. I did really well with it. And I said the same thing, that the ball just was different at the major league level because of the seams, and I couldn't get it to have the same action that I did down in the minor league. So I didn't throw it nearly as much at the big league level. I would say I tinkered with it and always had it in the back of my repertoire if I needed it, if a guy would foul off a bunch of pitches. But Senga's is just, special, and just his ability to throw it and throw it again and again with that accuracy and the action that it has, where it just seemed almost like a knuckleball, but at a higher velocity. Knuckleballs are tough to hit, especially, R.A. Dickey was throwing one that was in the 80s, low 80s, and that was very tough to hit because you never knew which way it was going to move. The Ghost Forkball kind of does the same thing, but usually what happens is it moves down with no spin and it seems like it disappears.
And speaking of minor league and major league balls, we saw Francisco Alvarez, I forgot to mention Tuesday, looked overmatched against Josh Hader. I mean, the high heat, and I said this on the last episode, with him playing only once or twice a week, I worry that he's going to try to do too much. He's going to try to hit that big homer. And he came up in a spot where a single ties the game, a homer wins the game. And he looked like he was trying to go for the homer, or at least the hit too much, where he was swinging at pitches high. He had a couple of good fouls. He fouled him behind the plate. But, he was trying to do a lot there. And I worry that he's going to do a lot. Just like Eduardo Escobar is trying to do a lot because he has Brett Beatty sniffing, for his spot right now. I mean, Eduardo Escobar's hitting 103. He's 4 for 39. Brett Beatty's hitting 333, 3 homers, 7 RBIs in AAA right now. So there's two different positions here. There's the Alvarez trying to get his chance, and there's Escobar trying not to lose his job. Escobar is a veteran. We don't worry about that as much, but I worry that with Alvarez playing so little, he's not going to be as successful as if he were playing every day.
Yeah, I haven't seen him look comfortable at the plate at all in his career thus far.
So you think he's not ready?
Not that he's not ready. I just feel like he's swinging as if he needs to hit 10 home runs with one every swing. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna somehow ooh and ah them and prove that he belongs. And it won't do it with one game. There won't be one game where you're like, okay, he belongs here. They know he has the talent. He plays baseball. The dimensions don't change down at the minor league level. He's still facing pitchers throwing 98 miles an hour from 60 feet 6 inches, and the fences are just as far. But he's always been a prolific home run hitter down in the minor leagues because he's comfortable there, and he's he knows there's no going back down. He's not going down to AA. He's not going down to a single A. He just kind of knew that if he just did what he's capable of doing. He's very talented. You can't be ranked in the top 10 in Major League Baseball as a prospect and not be extremely talented. The biggest thing for him is it just doesn't look like he's comfortable. It seems like, haters, listen, you're talking about plus fastball, left-handed, when you haven't faced it before and the ball doesn't have any downward trajectory to it. It just almost seems like a riser. You saw him swing and miss at the first two where it was not even close. And then all of a sudden he got, he fouled that one back and he wished he could have just put a little bit more barrel on it. It just, and all I kept saying from there is, man, if he throws him a breaking ball, he's going to spin him right into the dirt, but he overpowered him with the fastball like Hader does. And the
thing was Hader was wild figure that inning. So he should have known and had a better plate discipline there. And he's still young. I get it. But he was so wild to the point where Mark Canha, that was like a 20-minute at bat because they were reviewing it, seeing what was going on. Yeah. He struck out on a pitch that hit him. That only happened, I thought, in video games. And, that could have been base loaded, no one out. So I thought Alvarez could have done a better job kind of waiting for his pitch. But again, I thought he wanted to kind of play hero there.
Well, I believe it was 0-2 very quickly on him. I think that was how the at-bat started off. So you're already in defensive mode, and now you're in defensive mode against a guy, that hides the ball well like Hader, and you're not sure if it's going to be that slider in the dirt. And he kept elevating the fastball and just taking him out the zone with him. So that's what a veteran guy does. That's why he's a major league closer and one of the best in baseball. So Alvarez, again, I would love to be able to see him play for a week because you give him one game, even every third or fourth day, you're not going to see this kid get into a rhythm. So I think they're waiting for him to have, a 2-hit game where they're like, let's give him another game in a row, see what it's like. But if he struggles, it's like, well, we got to win a game, especially if you want to win series, right? We got to win a game. So I think anytime that they win the series early, boom, you go right to Alvarez. But if he's able to do well that third game and say they sweep, then you give him the next game. So let's see if he can build on that. You know what I'm saying? I think Buck is Buck is a master when it comes to this. You're talking about a guy who's playing chess, not checkers. So he knows way more than we'll ever know about how to do this. But he actually said in the press conference as well that he's waiting to see the superstar Alvarez. He's been hearing about it, he's been reading about it, but he hasn't seen it at the big league level. That batting practice has to translate into game stuff. And when it comes to game stuff, you will take a bloop base hit in the 9th inning to tie the ball game rather than seeing a kid swing for the fences and just missing. You can say just miss all you want. All you care about is if that guy's able to come through in the clutch. Clutch hitting still, in my mind, is going to, be something you talk about for years to come rather than remember that one home run you hit last year off the curveball at 112 miles an hour. I'm still waiting for that guy to show up because he's a complete hitter down in the minor league level.
I was praying for that single there and tying it because Hader was kind of all over the place there. But the Mets lost that game in the first inning, basically loaded no one out. You put no one home. We're talking to Rajay Davis there, who's in the building. Great to see Rajay, who will be on the show at some point. I'm sure one of my favorites. And, you knew that game was lost in the first inning. Tomas Nido's not doing himself any favors. 3 for 24, hitting 125. So if Nido continues to struggle, maybe that is the time we see Alvarez. But like you said, when he does play, he's got to have that 2 RBI game. And then you ride him. You're not going to do 3 in a row. He's usually a day game after night game. So you're going to see a switch there. But he's got to kind of earn his shot in the limited time that he'll get. Well, Tomas Nido and Francisco Alvarez are catchers, and they catch Tylor Megill. And Tomas Nido caught Tylor Megill on Wednesday, and we caught him on Tuesday night on the field, and we spoke to him. And here's our conversation with Mets starting pitcher Tylor Megill.
Tylor Megill, big drip. They call me Lil Drip because I try. Most of my chains are fake, but yours are real. Do you have like a whole closet full of chains? Like, what's your chain collection like?
None, just my little $250 sterling steel over.
Mine might be more expensive than his, and I'm broke.
Real. I don't know if that's real.
I don't pop the chain. I don't need to.
Oh, he hides the chain. Excited to be pitching against the Padres tomorrow. Your family's here. It's got to be cool. Beautiful day, and a playoff preview potentially.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's a good matchup, and a team like this, it's fun to go out there and pitch against them. You got one of the better lineups in the league. So I mean, this is what it's all about. It's going out facing the best and competing.
What's it been like getting a chance to actually work alongside some of your idols growing up?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing. I'm very, very fortunate to be in the position I am and learning from future Hall of Famers. And then on top of that, just the more veterans that we have in our pitching staff, I'm learning a lot, and I'm just trying to absorb as much knowledge as possible about how to go about the game and, scouting and everything like that.
You're here sporting the Ghost Forkball t-shirt. I believe that's Athlete logo. Shout out to them. They do a good job. Have you faced it yet? Have you gone up against it? And have you ever seen a pitch anywhere close to it?
To the forkball? No, not at all. No, the only thing I've seen that was pretty gnarly was Max Fried's curveball when I got the hit in 21 against over Atlanta.
Has he taught you? Have you asked him, hey, can you give me some pointers on the grip and everything?
No, not at all. That's not my repertoire. Maybe one day if I need it.
Yeah, what's the one thing that you've taken away from working with either Scherzer or Verlander? Is it just one thing, or is it just a multitude of things?
It's multiple things. I'd just say more so learning the whole scouting report kind of deal and how to figure out a game plan going into that day for pitching, pitching to my strengths, their weaknesses and whatnot, and just, dialing that in and, making a better game plan for that day when I'm going in to pitch.
Have you got used to the pitch clock? I've said on the podcast, umpires have a new sign language for every violation. They're doing the YMCA out there. Have you got accustomed to this new pitch clock and all these new rules yet?
Yeah, it's pretty routine, pretty simple. The only thing I'd say is obviously with no runners on, you can't step off or you're violation. And I had it happen last outing where it was a 2-2 count. I was trying to shake to a pitch that I wanted, and time ran out. I get marked for that. Or a batter gets a one time per at-bat kind of deal. I think pitchers should probably get, one step off instead of just a 2 with runners on. Okay, but with no runners on, if you're trying to shake to a pitch, you're kind of out of SOL on that.
Mets fans are drooling over Francisco Alvarez. What do you think of the kid so far?
He's awesome. I love him. He's just a bundle of joy. He's got a great attitude and, a lot of potential and, a lot of good stuff going for him right now.
All righty. Love getting roasted by a starting pitcher. I don't know the exact amount of my chain, but it's somewhere 250, maybe more. But he literally said, I keep it hidden. I don't need to show it off like you do, you freaking loser, fat piece of dumb dog duty, Jake. I was like, you know what? I'll take it, Tyler. He was just a chill, mellow guy. And I love talking to his mom. His mom's very nice. His mom does photography as well. Shout out to her doing photography out there in California and weddings and babies and lions and tigers and bears and babies. Oh my. So shout out to Mama Megill, who is big in the Twitter sphere. And, we talked about Sweet Home Alabama. We talked about David Robertson and the role that he's played for this team. He has been great What a cool guy. Had his kid on the field. He's got that real Southern twang. You know, I think of Alabama, Sweet Home Alabama. I think of my guy, Ruben Studdard, Mr. 205. That's me and him. We share that. Two big fellas.
Definitely not 205, bro.
My birthday is February 5th. So the joke is I'm Mr. 205 because I'm like a minor league pit bull as bald and, you know, so on my birthday.
Jake,
I'm not 205 yet. If the season keeps going as it is, I won't get ever to 205 again, but I'm trying to get down by the end of the year to 205 pounds. I'm around 227, 228. I haven't weighed myself since the beginning of the homestand, so we'll find out. But back to the task on hand. David Robertson has been fantastic. Will he change his entrance music to Kenny G? Here's our conversation on the field with Mets setup man, closer, do it all, David Robertson.
What's better about Queens than the Bronx besides everything?
The traffic seems a little easier to get here. That's a big plus.
What's the difference been? Are you loving your time here versus playing for the Yankees? What's the difference?
I am. You know, I've always enjoyed the Subway Series. It's been one of the most fun times, things you look forward to, mainly because you don't got to travel and you get to play in an intense environment, and it's just for bragging rights in the city. Now I'm on this side, and I'm hoping to give the Queens fans the bragging rights.
What do you think is the key for your success as a closer right now in this part of your career?
Just throwing strikes. I mean, I'm not blowing anybody away with stuff I've got these days. You know, I'm trying to be a control freak and to not give up, you know, hard contact. Got a great defense behind us this year, so I'm just trying to make guys put balls in play and be on the attack right from the get-go.
Did you try to harness that Mariano cutter at any time?
Yeah, I mean, we throw the ball very similar, but you know, I rely on a lot more breaking stuff than he does. You know, it seems like everybody's figured out how to throw that cutter now, so you kind of got to mix and match and throw what else I can. But throw everything I've got at him.
It's working.
So when Edwin Diaz went down, I had the idea of let's have David Robertson come out to like Kenny G and a saxophone because it was all about the trumpets. Have you given any thought to an instrumental kind of song like that to run out to?
No, I have not. I don't know if that one would quite work here. I feel like it's pretty tough to top the trumpets. I mean, I've been here and seen him come into that, and it's unbelievable. That's probably the greatest entrance for a closer I've seen.
Well, you're from Alabama originally?
I am.
About estimate of how many LA. How many times have you heard Sweet Home Alabama, and are you sick of the song at this rate?
I never get sick of that song. It's like Tennessee fans never get sick of Rocky Top. You know, you hear it, you love it.
Indeed. I think that's all that we got for you, brother.
All right. Buck Showalter was his first manager. He just walked by. What do you love about Buck? I mean, he seems like a baseball genius and just a good dude and a fun dude. We see a lot of funny commentary from him. What do you think of Buck?
I love him. So, you know, playing against him for a long time, you look at him on the other side of the field and you feel like, man, that guy's probably a jerk. And then you meet him, you're like, God, he's hilarious. And he's just completely different than anything I thought.
All right, last one. Rate my fit, and do I belong at Belmont right now? What do you think?
I feel like you're pretty close. I feel like you might need one of those hats, though, right?
I should have brought the top hat.
Yeah.
I forgot it at
I
home.
feel like there's tags somewhere in there.
No, I cut them off. I cut them off.
All right, David Robertson. He likes Queens. You know, he pitched in the Bronx. He's pitched in Queens. He's done it all, and we are big David Robertson fans. Hopefully he keeps it up because the way he's pitching, he's going to look like an all-star on this Mets team. And good stuff, David Robertson. We had Tylor Megill. We had the Ghost Forkball explanation, Mets and Oakland's weekend. So we'll close out Amazin But True next. All right, Figgy, that'll say goodnight to episode 136 of Amazin But True, our Mets podcast from the New York Post.
Thanks to you, Jake and Andrew Hartz, and the intern Josh Crawford for producing the show as always. Subscribe to Amazin But True on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the New York Post Sports YouTube page to watch all episodes. Find that Amazin But True playlist, and you'll see all episodes, our player interviews, and clips. Give us a thumbs up below on YouTube and comment below. Let us know what was your favorite food at Citi Field on this opening homestand. Follow us on Twitter at Amazin But True, at FiggieNY, and at Jake Brown Radio.
I'll say I like the mini lobster rolls. Were solid. Didn't really do a full tour. As you said, I was a little bit bougie, but the Cadillac Club food is good. It was for people who go, you basically had like these spicy little wing concoctions. There's the word concoction again. Some bread concoction with prosciutto. They say prosciutto? Prosciutto. You had hot dogs. You had another concoction, a mac and cheese lobster fritter. It's like those balls. I like that word, fritter.
Oh, that was the word. I'm glad that was the word you were liking.
Fritter. You know, these are outside the speakeasy, so I could speak hard about them. and it was unlimited beer and wine there. And each seat has a little port for a phone charger. You can charge your phone, and there's TVs, and it's like you're sitting on like a lounge chair. It's very nice. So that was some of my highlights of the 6 games in 6 days for Nelson Figueroa. I am Jake Brown. We'll close with this, Figgy. The news that I missed on Twitter that I have found is that you will no longer. It's like I'm trying to think of
grand opening, grand closing.
I'm trying to think of the era, like what Nick or what Met like played or like got traded there and then never played or something. Basically Jed Lowry.
Jed Lowry. I was going to say the same thing.
He had even had a few at bats at least. He had no hits though. You have no games as Long Island Ducks pitching coach. You have stepped down, in the words of the Ducks, to pursue broadcast media opportunities. What happened?
Yeah, I never lost a game as the pitching coach in Long Island. It's a good thing. What happened? Basically, what happened was I had interviewed for a position in TV broadcast media and back in October, and I guess the show just got green lighted this past month, and they reached out to me and they said they wanted me to come aboard, and I tried to make everything work where I could do a little bit of, I could do some coaching and still do television, but it didn't look like it was going to work out because, like most people don't know, as a pitching coach or as a coach in professional baseball, they play 132 games in 150 days. So there really is very little downtime. 18
and they
weeks.
pay you in chicken nuggets. That's your form of payment.
It's very close to chicken nugget money. Honestly, the pay isn't why you're doing it. You're doing it, because you love
the game.
You love to coach. You love to be around the game. I mean, getting to be around Wally Backman all season long, man. That book in its own, I would have been able to write at least 3 books of Adventures with Wally. That's probably what it would have been called. But alas, I wasn't able to do that. But stay tuned. There'll be an announcement here shortly about where you'll be able to see me next. And of course, on the podcast every Monday, normally Mondays. But there's going to be a chance to see me a lot more on television here in the upcoming months.
Yeah, Monday's show. I think we should be breaking that news. I would hope you save that for the podcast. Let's break it on Monday's podcast.
Just for you, Jake.
Thank you. When we record Sunday night, we'll break the news where Figgy ends up on the television screen. So hopefully Monday you'll have that and maybe a special guest as well. Congratulations on that. And yeah, they actually pay you in Chuck E. Cheese vouchers in the minor leagues. Where once a week you get to you dress in the rat costume and then get free pizza vouchers. So congratulations on that. That's just mean, but it is accurate. You do it for the love of the game. But listen, people know minor leagues they don't pay a lot. That's why it was such a big deal that Major League Baseball came to that agreement that these players are going to get a lot more. A lot more is still not a lot what they're getting, but they're getting a lot more money.
Yeah, their salaries are going to double, and it's only right. I think the beginning of this whole thing where they were trying to say that minor league baseball is like an internship. Again, you're playing too many games in too little days with no days off. At the same time, you're at the ballpark from 2:00 in the afternoon to 11:00 at night. That's not an internship. That's not something that you're doing as a hobby. But they kept saying, well, the reward is if you make it to the big leagues. Truth is, only 5% ever make it to the big leagues. There's been roughly just over 22,000 human beings who have ever played Major League Baseball. So it's a very, very small fraternity, and I'm glad to see that finally Major League Baseball is taking care of those guys at the minor league level who, for a lot of cities down in the minor league level, they're the one thing in that city. They're the thing that keeps that city afloat, their economy and everything else. So they cut out a lot of teams in the minor leagues. This decision to really be able to support them and give them a collective bargaining agreement is really going to help them out immensely. And it's it makes it fun to be a minor leaguer again and give it a chance. I think that's why Murphy's coming back.
Yeah, that's I would hope that's why, because he's in the off season, he's not out here working at Dick's Sporting Goods selling fishing rods and Mets NL East champion t-shirts at the strike of midnight when it happens. So a lot of these guys hopefully don't have to have a side job as Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo in the off season, as I think we talked about that a few weeks ago with I forget who. For Nelson Figueroa, we are going off the deep end. For Nelson Figueroa, Andrew Hartz, I'm Jake Brown. We will be back on Monday. We'll break Figgy new job news. We'll have a guest, and we got lots more cooking in the coming weeks. We have Kodai Senga's translator on the show coming up as well. The Mets go to Oakland, and we'll hit the hay. We'll go to bed now. It's been a long day. It's been a long homestand. Mets 4-2, 7-6. and everything's good and gravy. I told you not to panic. It is too early to panic. And after a series win, Figgy, we got to close out this episode of Amazing But True, as we do best, with our favorite 3 words. And it's not I love lobster. It is
Let's go Mets.
Close enough.